So let's get let's get up to speed with our friend Greg Lawson with the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance. Greg, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. I was enjoying listening to the technical talk there. I love hearing about iPhones and Android and everything else.
We could blow off conservation talk, tech talk all you want,
That's
my
right.
friend. I love it too. How's the USSA iPhone app coming?
We're working on a few things to get some stuff out there. I'll tell you, it is becoming such a dominant market. People are getting more and more information. I mean, I get practically all my news. I actually have a Droid, and I get all my news on there anymore. I don't even get anything in paper.
No, forget paper.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting too because I'm big on the New York Times website, and every once in a while you have to type in your name and password, and I'm so lazy that I don't even bother, and I pick up my iPhone because you can read any story on there with no problems. So we're talk about instant gratification. It's not fast enough online for me. I actually have to go to my iPhone and read it, so I don't have to type in my name and password.
Well, and just to digress for a second more, we were talking the other day, Cameron, about technology moving so quickly. It's true. There are so many multiple platforms between, here is a laptop computer, and here's your phone, iPhone, smartphone, whatever. But even in between, I mean, there's iPads. There's just so many different devices. It's like you're right. It's just I can make it through the better part of the day with this. If I don't have a computer, I can do so much of what I need to do, and it's getting more and more to the technology's there. And when we're delivering, we were talking about content before. You want to put it everywhere so people can get it if they want to hear it.
But how about this, Greg and John, for something to make you feel old? I read something the other day that email is already archaic to teens because they prefer Facebook chat, because it goes so much faster and so much more instant. They don't even bother. They don't even like to type in the subject line. So email email is already a thing of the past in 2010.
Wow.
Well, it's going to be scary if Facebook, I don't know if that'll ever happen since it's Time Person of the Year or something, but when Twitter overtakes Facebook and people can only type in 140 characters, and that's the new thing that's dominant there. That's going to be when everybody really knows they're old.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get back to what we're talking about with you, sir. I could talk tech all night with you, but what happened here with the Federal Court of Appeals and this ruling that's dealing a blow to wildlife conservation? Get us up to speed, will you, Greg?
Well, this was unfortunately a big hit for wildlife conservation. What happened is the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals overturned a lower court ruling that the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance was involved with, and a number of other great organizations as well. Back in 2007, what happened was a group of environmental organizations had filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And get a load of this. Out in the Kofa National Wildlife Refuge in Arizona, the Fish and Wildlife Service had put some small watering devices in an area that was designated as wilderness. And the reason they did this is because there's bighorn sheep among a whole bunch of other types of wildlife there. But one of the problems was that there wasn't enough way to get water in there, and there was a problem managing the population of bighorn sheep. So they, quote-unquote, manipulated the habitat by putting these devices there. Well, these groups, these environmental groups that sued said, no, you can't do that because it's a wilderness. And they said that because of the Wilderness Act that set the whole, in terms of designating certain lands wilderness, in effect, you can't do anything at all in those lands. I mean, no human manipulation at all. You can't have cars on there, can't have really people going out there practically. You'd have to hike miles and miles out to even get there. So putting these devices there, even though it was benefiting the bighorn sheep in this area, was a no-no. We felt that that wasn't the case. We felt that managing wildlife and conserving wildlife took precedence over this concept that you couldn't mess and do anything with wildlife. The lower court agreed with the arguments that we were making. Unfortunately, the Court of Appeals didn't feel that way.
Wow. So that the ramifications of this are big.
They're huge.
I mean, you take this one particular incident of a watering device, but if you spread it out over not even being able to do anything on these lands, they're going to be, how are you going to be able to use them?
Well, how are you going to get access to them?
Yeah.
And the key thing is, a lot of folks like to go out to these areas because they're pristine. You don't have vehicle traffic and things like that. A lot of hunters like to go out there and they enjoy the entire experience. The problem, though, is when you're not even allowed to do something on occasion to ensure a plentiful wildlife population, you're going to end up having situations where the wildlife doesn't actually live there anymore, and things will happen. There'll be declines in population. Folks won't be going out there as much as a direct result of that. And it's really it's a knock against the whole ethos of scientific wildlife management, because the idea is that we know that there are things that you can do, subtle things that you can do, that does a very good job of maintaining appropriate balances in terms of the numbers of wildlife you've got, and we should be allowed to do it. Fish and Wildlife Service should do it. The state wildlife agencies, of course, should do it at the state level. And decisions like this really, unfortunately, knock that back a long ways. And in this case, there's only one place to go with this kind of situation. That's the Supreme Court, if they would even take the case. So we're looking at our options, but it's in this particular case, it's unfortunately looking kind of bleak.
So you see, kind of moving to my next question, Greg. So this came up. You guys won on the first ruling. Then at the Court of Appeals, they knocked you down.
Yeah.
So next is the Supreme Court.
That's the only place you can go for this particular case. Now, one of the other things that can oftentimes be done is you can look around for other cases in other jurisdictions and see where there might be some similar situations to try to get an appropriate precedent and things like that. I know that's one of many options that we're looking at as well, because you got to think about every time one of these things happens, this is a negative precedent, but you're going to always look around to try to find another situation where you can draw the line in the sand again. We thought we had a very good case. We still think there was a very good case. We disagree vehemently with the court decision, and in fact, I should say it was a 2-1 decision, so there was a dissenting judge. There were only three judges in this case, and also it wasn't a unanimous decision even at that. So that's one thing that we're at least a little bit, I guess, pleased by. Obviously, it's not enough because the decision didn't go the way we would have liked to see it.
Wow. Well, I know you guys will keep fighting for it. We appreciate that. What's on your guys' radar screen as far as other things coming up next year, as far as big issues for U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance and for sportsmen and hunters around the country?
Well, I think one of the big things that we've been involved with is the Great Lakes wolves. I know there's a whole bunch of talk. In fact, some big headlines just in the last day or so is that there's a lawsuit against Fish and Wildlife Service again about trying to get wolves reintroduced basically across the country. The Center for Biological Diversity would like to see a national recovery plan for wolves, and that's going to play a very interesting role in all the debates that are going on out in the Rocky Mountain region with the wolves that were delisted and then they were relisted because of a court decision. And now in the Great Lakes, we've been directly involved in trying to get the wolves delisted in the western Great Lakes, which is Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota areas. Fish and Wildlife Service is going in that direction. We're very happy. We think that next year will be a good year for that. But now you got another legal situation emerging that we'll have to see if that throws a monkey wrench in things as well. So that's something to definitely watch. The whole lead issue, with lead fishing tackle, traditional ammunition, that thing has not gone away. The EPA made what we think, and I think what everybody thinks is the right decision in not moving forward with the petitions to ban it. But now there's legal action in that situation as well. And I'm seeing a trend here. I'm seeing courtrooms. I'm seeing gavels.
Lawyers are seeing dollar signs.
We're talking to attorneys all the time. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, you think about Christmas time. You listen to that Christmas carol right before we came in here, and I'm thinking to myself, with all these courts out there and judges and lawsuits, it's like the Grinch is stealing Christmas. I'm like, man, what's going on there?
Well,
but those are definitely going to be some extremely hot button issues that are going to go on all next year, and probably even further than that.
Great. We just have a couple minutes left. I wanted to ask you one final question. You see stories at the end of the year here, especially after hunting seasons had ended, and people lamenting that there are fewer hunters out there, and fewer hunters, of course, means fewer dollars for conservation funding, fewer dollars for state wildlife agencies. What are you seeing, and what are you doing to fight that?
Well, one of the big things that the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has done is we've partnered with the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the National Wild Turkey Federation on a program called Families Afield. And we've worked in many states with the NRA as well on this to basically lower regulatory barriers for people getting out in the field. A lot of times there'll be apprentice hunting licenses, but it varies on a state-by-state basis. The key idea is to get people outside at as young an age as possible, so that we can get youth involved. I mean, that's one of the key things is you got to get that next generation out there before they get focused on the computer games and as much as we love technology sometimes too, and get them outside. And so this program in 30 states, with a combination of a lot of other groups, we've managed to get either regulatory or legislative changes that has actually resulted in numbers that we can count right now. 418,000 apprentice hunting licenses have been sold since this program began back in 2005.
Cool.
So that's a huge success story. We're continuing to look at other states and even doing some more regulatory changes in some states that we've already done a few tweaks to. So that's an important thing from a public policy standpoint. We also work with Boy Scouts and things like that on our Trailblazer Adventure program, which is an outdoor education program to try to get some, oftentimes, urban youth outside getting a bow in their hands, a lot of times for the first time, BB guns, so they can get a taste for what it's like to at least hold something that resembles a firearm, obviously, fishing rods. Those are part of the puzzle. I mean, it comes down to making sure that parents and fathers and sons and everybody gets involved, but these are some of the things that we are trying to do in a very direct way to keep the tradition alive, to make it a fair playing field, to get people out there, and to get that passion imbued in kids at an early age.